Have you ever heard of like the idea of transforming your identity, like getting a new identity? Not in the sense of like changing your name and going into like witness protection or anything like that, but just becoming a new person like that you're known for. For me, it was becoming an excellent like sales representative, right? And then now I'm in the stages of changing my identity to becoming an excellent sales manager. There's 4 stages, and it's something that I learned a while ago, and I wanted to share with anyone that would be willing to hear. So thanks for clicking on the video. But the first stage on something like this is going to be like that butterfly stage. From what I remember, we called it inception, right? Not like the movie, but the inception stage in the sense of you are unconsciously incompetent, right? You are unaware of how much you suck at something. You are unaware of how incompetent you are, right? So in that stage, you are flying high. You have no idea that there's so much more struggle, so much more to learn, so much more like friction that you're gonna have to go through, and you're riding high. It's like the first like few months in a relationship with your partner, right? You ignore red flags. You have no idea what the downsides could be. You're just chasing that new butterfly, that new like butterfly feeling that's inside of you. That stage will last depending on what it is, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a new hobby, something that you have to do. That's gonna last about a month or 2. For relationships, it's about 3 months before it really kicks in that you're like, you don't want to be there, or before you stop ignoring the red flags. That stage, riding high, ends with the stage that I like to call and that I've heard of deception. Deception is where you become consciously incompetent. You are now fully aware of the red flags. You're fully aware of how much more there is to learn. You're fully aware of the amount of effort that it's going to take. And that is when 85-90% of people quit. Whether it be a new job, a relationship, or like I said, a hobby or something like that. After you become aware of how incompetent you are, that next stage is going to be transformation. That next stage of transformation is when you become consciously competent. When you're consciously competent, you, again, are fully aware of it, but you're fully aware of the progress that you're making. You're fully aware of how much better that you're getting. And a major issue that people have is they will slide between transformation and deception. They will, after they've hit that inception, they go down to deception, and then their transformation, they're in that bottom of that bell curve, right? That inverted bell curve. They keep going back and forth, back and forth. You're fully aware of how much you suck, how much more effort that needs to be put in, how better that you're getting. And then you realize, oh, there's even more that I need to learn. And the more that you learn, the more that you realize that there's so much more that you have to learn. So for the people that are in that stage, where you are a few, maybe 5-6 months into either like a new job, whether it be like a sales job or a performance-based role, the advice that I give all of my guys, because I have all of my guys go through this and listen to this in person, is just be conscious, be aware, and identify yourself when you're in that stage. And remind yourself of the light that is at the end of the tunnel, that you are going to learn if you put in the effort, right? Acknowledge how much effort and how much friction that there's going to be, and how much discipline that you're going to have to be able to get through it. Acknowledge that and look towards the light that's at the end of the tunnel, and don't quit when you hit that deception phase, right? After that deception phase, and after you become aware of how competent that you are and how much more that you're learning, and this takes years, you get to that 4th and final stage where you're back up, right at that last end of that bell curve, that inverted bell curve, that top 10%. that is when you have a new identity. That is when that transformation ends and you are now that new person. And that takes 4,000 hours, 5,000 hours, 10,000 hours. I mean, there's a saying out there that it's like it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. It's like 5 years of work, right? Because if you're working an average of 2,080 hours a year, 5 years worth of work. And I would say it took me very, very close to that. It might have been like 3 or 4 years, but that's besides the point. Point is, when you get to that new identity, that is when you are unconsciously competent. It's like breathing, it's like eating, it's like riding a bike. You don't have to think that you are doing it. You don't have to even remind yourself of the little things that you're doing, like part of your process or in your job or the relationship that you have or being a father or whatever it is. You can just unconsciously, easily do whatever needs to be done, and it comes naturally to you. Sorry, I just bumped the camera there. When you have that new identity, realistically, that's only 5 to like 10% of people will get through that and will get to that new identity. We'll get to that final stage, that tail end of the bell curve, the inverted bell curve, right? And that's why I make it a point to say like, hey, that is 100% feasible. It's possible. You can do it, but you just got to recognize it's going to take time and effort. I draw it out. Hopefully you guys can read that, but starting at that inception phase, and then the deception, the transformation, and that new identity. Just like I talked about, it's an inverted bell curve. And that's what I like to tell guys. When they come in, newer guys that are going through what we call slumps, right? If you're in the sales industry or you're in a performance-based role, or even just sports or whatever it is, you know that you'll go through slumps. And I always remind my guys, and I even call it out beforehand. I know I'm a little like off, like going off on tangents and whatnot, but I call it out beforehand because we know it's gonna happen, right? We know that you're going to eventually get into a slump. No one comes out of the gate hot and stays hot for their entire career. Doesn't happen. Whether it's sports, a relationship, or performance-based roles in the workforce, you are going to have highs and lows. What I tell all my guys is just, if you can stay as consistent as possible, I know it's a no-brainer, but if you can handle yourself to where you don't wear your emotions on your shoulder, and you don't ride the lows too low or the highs too high, and stay as consistent as possible, you're gonna do extremely well on this role, right? The number one thing that I look for when it comes to performance-based roles, especially in this field, is calm persistence paired with optimism. Because you are going to have those slumps, you're gonna have those off days, you're gonna have those off weeks, you just can't have an off month, right? Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this just gives you some insight. I mean, like the goal here in this conversation is just as simple as becoming aware of everything that's going on and aware of this phenomenon, and just recognizing that you're in that stage when you're in the slump, to push through it, to get through to the next stage, and to transform your identity to who you want to be, right? Appreciate it. Thanks again. Hudson out. Later.